Welcome to the Great Loop Radio podcast, brought to you by America's Great Loop Cruisers Association. We're dedicated to sharing Great Loop information and inspiration with those actively cruising, planning for, or dreaming about a Great Loop adventure. I'm Kim Russo. I'm the director of AGLCA. Today we're taking on a little bit of a different topic. We get asked a lot by members and others who are interested in the loop, how can they try before they buy? And what we mean by that is it's a pretty big investment of time, money, and energy to go out and purchase a great loop boat. And for someone who perhaps has never really cruised their own boat and, spend a lot of time on board, sleeping, eating, doing all the daily life things on board, they're just really not sure if it's for them. So how can they give it a shot, try out that looper lifestyle before putting in that huge investment of time and money to find and buy a boat and outfit it for the loop and do all of those things? So today we're going to try and tackle that. We are bringing in three different AGLCA sponsors, each who offer a way for loopers to try before they buy and really try out the Great Loop. So we will bring in our first sponsor in just a moment. Before we do, I want to recognize and thank our Admiral sponsors who support AGLCA at the highest level. They are Kathy All. She is a certified financial planner with Edward Jones, Great Loop Yacht Sales, Passage Maker Trawler Fest, Skipper Bob Publications, and Waterway Guide Media. As always, we encourage our listeners and viewers to support these businesses that support the Great Loop. And with the sponsors appropriately recognized, let's go ahead and welcome our first sponsor. She is Jenna Ginsburg, and she is with Timeless Yacht. So Jenna, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you. So let's just jump right in. Tell us what it is that you offer on Timeless Yacht that can help potential loopers have the opportunity to try before they buy and dive into their own looper boat.
So Timeless is an interesting platform. It's a 4-cabin boat. We have a cabin for the crew in the aft section and two double cabins forward. And as we move the boat, which is common, we've been the last 2.5 years up and down the East Coast and Gulf into the West Coast of Florida. We basically sell cabins as we do loop segments as we go. So we provide a looper type experience in a similar setting to what it would be like to be on the loop. So we might anchor a night, move 50 miles, spend 2 nights in a port, anchor for a night, or move to a different port, similar to what loopers would do at a similar pace to a looper pace. So you get an idea of what the pace and lifestyle is like. It's sort of like a looper lifestyle event on the water.
Yeah. Well, I love that concept. And I have to brag on Timeless a little bit. And I know I've told you this before, Jenna, but Timeless, under her previous name, was probably the first looper boat that I was aboard that I was like, I could live forever on this boat. I could have Thanksgiving dinner for the whole family right here on this boat. This is the forever home kind of boat. So give us kind of the specs and the details about Timeless. I know after that experience I had, it later went on the market. Thankfully, I did not know about that because not in my price range. But you bought it and now are using it for your own loop, but offering these charters. So tell us about the boat.
I was contemplating earlier today if I could see a better platform for what we're doing, and I really can't. We got very lucky, and it's really the perfect platform. It has everything we want on board. Besides, it has redundant systems. So we have 2 generators and an inverter. We have multiple steering systems. We have 2 hot water heaters, 2 water pumps. So it lets us be self-sufficient and not have to worry about, well, if a generator breaks, I just turn the other one on. Or if we have an issue, I'm servicing one, I still have an inverter. So we can keep it going. It has a full galley. So we have a galley for the chef that she can use with an oven and a microwave and a cooktop and a full-size refrigerator. And then we have 3 guest refrigerators, so guests can self-serve. I want to grab a water. There's a refrigerator dedicated to guests with water. They want to grab a soda or a beer out of the beer fridge, they can have at it, or there's another fridge on the fly bridge. Each cabin, we do 2 cabins at a time. So each cabin has an island berth and its own head with a stand-up shower with 6'5" headroom, so there's plenty of room. They have their own AC heat control that they can set the temperature that they want, and they have their own opening ports. And each of those cabins is about the same size, depending upon what kind of boat, of a looper boat. So you really get the idea of what it would be like to be in the master of a looper size boat. So we might have more of them, but each one isn't really much bigger than you would get on a typical looper boat. So it gives someone the experience of what it's like. We have, like I said, more on board. We're a little bigger, so we have a lot more displacement. We weigh about 3 times what a typical looper boat does, and we're stabilized. And that helps us stay on schedule. So we might be able to move when some other looper boats might choose not to. When you're doing the jump, say from Fernandina to Jekyll, or St. Mary's, or wherever you go, sort of across one of those sounds, or Albemarle Sound, we can go and stay on schedule and be comfortable in conditions that maybe a typical 35 to 45-foot looper couldn't. And we just can move through those because we're stabilized and have a lot more displacement. So it's great. We have a lot more horsepower. We carry a lot more fuel. Those things aren't typical to looper boats, but otherwise, it gives a lot of the same experiences. We also, because we're bigger, we have 6 independent living, like public spaces that people can hang out on. They can hang out at the bow that has a table, a couple chairs, and a bench seat. The stern has a bench seat, chairs, and a table. There's 2 different seating areas up on the flybridge. The pilot house has a table, and then inside the salon. So even when it's bad weather out, or maybe it's drizzling or raining, we still have room to seat everyone on board. You can still find your nook out of the weather and not have to be stuck in your cabin. So it is, in that way, in my mind, a perfect platform for what we're doing. And we kind of got lucky.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Tell us what make and model is the boat.
So Timeless is a 62-foot offshore flush deck. The most common boat that offshore yachts made, and they're still building boats, was basically the 58-62. The difference between them is just an extension of the hull, but they only made about 6 of this flush deck model, which provides the extra cabin aft, a stand-up engine room instead of the crawl-in engine room, 4 cabins instead of 3 cabins. So it really is, for us, the ideal platform. It gives us a little bit of extra weight maybe for the same engine package that you get on what they call the raised pilot house version, but it ended up being perfect for us. We're the top of our radar, and the highest point of our radar arch, which is our anchor light, is just over 23 feet above the water, but our arch folds pretty easily with a hinged arch, and we'll get well under 20 feet once we fold the arch.
Wow. So not the typical looper boat, perhaps, but absolutely capable of doing the loop with 4 staterooms, and that is something that is very hard to find.
It is.
So Jenny, you're a very experienced captain. So for somebody that's considering, maybe a charter aboard Timeless is a great way to kind of try out what it's like to be living on the loop. Give us a little bit of your background so, people can know what kind of experience they're going to have from a navigation standpoint.
So I started boating not really in my childhood like some people. I started boating in my 20s. I'm now in my 50s, so that's a few decades worth of boating. And along the way, I've done all kinds of boating, including paddling. So I've done big paddles. And when I mean paddling, I mean we started in New Hampshire and finished in Canada and paddled the whole main coast.
Oh, wow.
Or paddle from Key Largo to Key West. And the navigation I learned from that, there's nothing like navigating a kayak in 2 to 3 foot seas with a chart on your deck. It's very different than a boat because you can't see really very far at all. So it's a compass, a chart, and like I use a small craft nav aid, like a little plastic device to see and we would guess set and drift. So I learned to navigate really the hard way. And then when we first started boating, we didn't have a chart plotter. So we were plotting courses with compass and ruler and parallel rules. So that's how I learned. And then we moved up to bigger boats. We got a chart plotter on our first, 31-foot-ish boat. So we did jump slowly over the years. And then I decided that for my own education, I would go and get my captain's license. So I went through the course and took the navigation, and we started moving a 44-foot boat up and down the coast of our own boat. And that's where I started to really learn about navigation in a boat and doing my own maintenance out of both desire to learn and necessity. It's really expensive to have a big boat. So
for sure. Yep.
And to some extent, self-sufficiency. So, and it leads right into training and what we do on board. When I go down and do engine checks, I bring someone with me. Inevitably, even though Timeless has multiple systems, something happens and I'm fixing something on board, and we share that process and what it's like. So moving up and down the coast is where I started to gain my experience. And then we've done some charters in other places. I've paddled in other places. I got my license in my other world. I was in the events world. And then in March of 2020, this thing happened, and my other world went like off the charts, like into non-existence. And all of a sudden I started to get calls for people to help run their boats because the boating world in the spring of 2020 just exploded.
Sure.
And I started doing deliveries and owner training in 2020. So that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. I've built this up. Along the way, Darlene and I had a bed and breakfast that we sold because it was in Maine and we were tired of dealing with snowy winters. So we moved to Florida, and she really missed the hospitality side of things and the people. So it's a combination of my love and her love for being on the water, um, the hospitality side of owning a bed and breakfast almost where we entertain people. And it just sort of all fit together. So in that process, since the teens, when we first started moving the 44 up and down in about 2017 is when we first did the big trip. Our first big trip was from Annapolis to Southwest Florida to Cape Coral. I've done in the neighborhood of 15,000 nautical miles now, somewhere in the number of trips. So I consider myself experienced, but there are loopers who have done a lot more than me. But it's been also something that I've dove headfirst into to learn and really get it. To the point where I've done enough mileage that in December I'll be taking my 200-ton exam.
Excellent.
And get my 200-ton. Timeless is big enough that in about 300 days on the water, and I have about 260 that I can apply for my 200-ton license with the size of Timeless.
Excellent. So that brought up another question. You mentioned that Darlene really likes to host and likes to, prepare the meals and things like that. You like to bring people into the engine room and show them what you're doing on engine checks. So tell us a little bit, what can somebody expect if they go with you aboard Timeless for a period of time? Are they really, looking at a luxurious, relaxing cruise where they're being served? Or are they really kind of getting down into the nitty-gritty and fixing things and learning how to do that on their own boat of a similar nature? Or is it some of both?
So the experience it's like school in this respect that it is what you make of it to some extent. Some people want to hop into the captain's chair and they want to start to run the boat, and they literally will sit down and help run the boat. And other people are not as into it. They might sit on a settee and read a book while we're underway, and it varies. So to some extent, it's as much of what you make of it. Sometimes the couple split, so one person might join me in the engine room and one person might not, and sometimes both of them might come and see how we do it. So we basically share how we do things. So Darlene might share what she's doing for preparation for meals, how she's doing provisioning along the way, and I might be sharing how I'm getting through my daily checks in the engine, how I'm putting the boat to sleep each night, and we share everything we're doing. So at the end of the day, we'll go through, okay, this is where we are. This is what the weather tomorrow is. This is what our plan is. And we literally can hand them a tablet and say, okay, usually it's their own tablet. Sometimes they don't have it. And how would you get there? And we literally go through the entire process of plotting out the next day. And then I look at the entire week at a time and say, okay, so yes, if we're planning to go to A tomorrow, but if we go to A tomorrow, we're stuck there. Maybe we go to B tomorrow because B would be a lot better place to be stuck for 2 days than A, and we go a little bit longer today. So we make all of these decisions. Sometimes it's over dinner or after, and sometimes it's while we're underway. Timeless is really comfortable underway to be planning the next day. We have a table and things. So it is as much as you make it. And we go through everything from bridge openings, sometimes locks when we're doing locks. The expectation from Darlene for sure, because she's busy doing hospitality side, is that people help with lines and fenders. So they're on a headset with me as I'm docking the boat. Very few people are willing to take control of the boat to dock the boat, although I've had a few willing to grab the controls. My feeling is it's a very easy boat to dock. We have hydraulic thrusters, bow and stern, something that I think that people can easily do. Because it's very easy to maneuver. So they're on lines and fenders. It's a very slow process. We go very slowly intentionally as we're coming to the dock, so they can run lines and fenders. They can understand how we're calling distances. So we have often 4 people on headsets so they can see what it's like. So it's a group effort when we're on board, and we appreciate the help. It makes life easier for us when we have more hands. A typical day depends. Sometimes I like to get up early and I like to get to port early because I like to enjoy the port in the afternoon. If we wait till 9 or 10 to leave and we're doing 50 miles, we might not get in till 3 or 4. We don't move very fast like a typical looper. I also look at the current. So sometimes we leave early, sometimes guests sleep in, and sometimes other guests get up. Breakfast is generally served on board, sometimes underway. We'll drop lines and then have breakfast. Lunch is always underway when we're not in port. And Darlene, sometimes it's continental, but generally she does a hot breakfast. There's always yogurt and fruit. We have a coffee machine always out. In addition to the beverage fridge, there's always snacks out. Lunches could be everything from homemade chowder she's made like that morning between lunch and dinner to roll up sandwiches. It depends on how rough it's going to be outside and what the conditions are for her to be able to cook in the galley and what people like. We take preference sheets from people. And then dinner, Darlene does generally 2 to 3 dinners a week on board. Obviously, when we're at anchor, we're cooking. We grill a lot. We have a couple grills on board, so we grill. Sometimes she bakes. She does fresh breads and things. But when we're in port, we get to port at 1, 2, 3 o'clock. We get docked. We hope that guests enjoy the port and can go see the town and walk around, find a local place to eat, and enjoy a meal in port. So it varies each day what it's like. When we're in places like Cumberland Island, we'll definitely launch the tender. We go to shore, we see the beach, we go see the wild horses. So sometimes we're launching the tender, sometimes we're just at a peaceful anchorage in the lowlands of Georgia, or you see the osprey at Mile Hammock State Park. These are some, or Pelican Bay. You just enjoy the place. So it all depends on where we are, what the day is like, and what the future holds. So
Yeah, it all sounds delightful. What's the typical length of one of your charters?
so we do a 3 day generally around the winter Looperpalooza
Mm-hmm.
in January,
Punta
but
Gorda,
most of
yep.
them range from 5 to 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple cruises that, by the nature of them, are longer because we have to look at how hard it is to get to the boat. So from certain locations, it's much, much harder to get to the boat and get off. So
Yeah,
it's going to take us, for example, from Panama City to Clearwater. We It doesn't take 8 days necessarily to get from Panama City to Clearwater, but it's an 8 day cruise because you need to allow some extra time for weather. For us to stay on schedule, we have some extra time. So we plan to do the Big Bend route, but most of our cruises are are between 6 and 8 days, mostly
mm-hmm.
6 or 7. The inland rivers, as I did it, it went down like Chicago to Grafton. It's 6 days to easily stay on schedule from Grafton to Columbus. Columbus is a tiny little airport, but I've flown in and out of it.
I have two. You can do
So
it.
yeah, you can do it. So we're Grafton to Columbus. It's 6 days. Could you do that in 3 days? Yeah, you could, but it'd be really tough. But in 6 easy days,
Right,
we could do it. And if we need to double up a day, we could. So it ends up being all those inland river cruises ended up being 6 days. So they
yeah,
vary, and it's a little bit less money for 6 days than it is for 8 days. So it varies a little bit as well. And
sure.
each leg of the loop is different. It's very different to go across Lake Okeechobee than it is to go from, Grafton to Columbus or from Chicago to Grafton. Each leg is very different. The one thing I do want to say is the difference, we distinguish a charter from a cruise slightly. So when someone charters the boat, they own the boat, they can start and choose where they want to go from, and it's up to them where they go. When we cruise, it's sort of a, not sort of, it's a group effort. You're getting on in Charleston, you're getting off in Beaufort, North Carolina. Where we stop is up in the air. Today, I had someone email me. We have a cruise that's booked, and it's full from St. Augustine to Charleston. It's a 7 day cruise, and it's over Easter. And she said, I want to make sure that I can go to Mass on Sunday of Easter. And so we're going to be in Fernandina that morning. It's really simple. She can walk to the Catholic Church in
Mm-hmm.
Fernandina. We're not going to be leaving very early. Our next port is only 6.5 miles away at Cumberland Island. So we'll have brunch on board and we'll make a decision from there. Do we go to St. Mary's? Do we go to Jekyll? Do we go anchor somewhere and then spend more time in Savannah? And it will be a group effort as opposed to them saying, this is where we're going and what I want to do.
Yeah.
So we
And
kind of do that together.
yeah, and thank you for that distinction between a charter and a cruise because that makes complete sense. And certainly this is you're making the decisions, on where to start and where to end, and they've got to plan that. So,
Yep.
thank you for making that distinction. I appreciate that. So, just as we wrap up, unfortunately, there are very few ways for people to really kind of try out the loop before they jump in. particularly if the boating they want to try out is in the waters of the loop. You just don't see too many charters or cruises that do that. So, what do you and Darlene hope that a potential looper gains by going along with you on one of your cruises?
I hope they gain a little bit of the understanding of what it's like to be on a boat, that it's not insurmountable to do. I think unfortunately there's sometimes that we do it so much that we might make it look easy, but they understand that you can be comfortable, that it can be fun and exciting, that you can see and have the adventure without it being an insurmountable challenge, that it's really accessible. We spend a lot of time in some of the big marinas we stop at walking the dock, and we talk about the different boats and the different boats we pass and the differences so they can see that there's every single type of boat available. I mean, I don't think that Timeless, like you said, is not a typical loop boat. And I don't think a lot of people's expectations from getting on Timeless that it is, but that they can see that Timeless pared down could be a very nice platform.
That's great, Jenna. Thank you and Darlene for offering that hospitality to people because, as I said, very few ways to really try this out. This is one of them. So I will go ahead and put a link to your website in the show notes and the video description. And thank you for joining us and sharing all the details.
Thanks so much, and I will see you next week.
I will see you there. We're going to take a quick break and play a message from one of our sponsors. When we come back, we'll jump into another option for you to try before you buy. We'll be back in a moment. The Ditch Navigation app is your own personal harbor pilot, ensuring safe passage on the water. Powered by AI and fueled by AIS data, Ditch provides instant local knowledge on your phone, laptop, or other mobile device. Wherever you go, Ditch calculates your smart path, showing the routes that experienced boaters use. Ditch is perfect for finding a safe path through tricky shoaling waters and can also be used to explore routes boaters take to find new anchorages or secret fishing grounds. For more information, visit ditchnavigation.com. The Ditch app is available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Welcome back to the Great Loop Radio podcast. My next guest is another AGLCA sponsor who also has an offering that can help you try before you buy so that you can get some experience before you go out and buy your Great Loop boat. He is Jay Kraft with Trawlers Great Lakes. Jay, thanks for joining me again.
You're welcome, Kim. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. And I know you offer quite a bit that can help a looper who perhaps has, never really cruised on a larger kind of loop style boat before. So tell us a little bit about what Trawlers Great Lakes does that can help people to have that opportunity to try before they buy.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different choices. Charters is the first one. We've got a couple different types of charters that people can engage in with us, which is a little bit more casual. And then the other one, which will help people, is going to be the trawler school. And that's a lot less casual. That's very rigid and structured and more of an adventure learning vacation is what we've summarized that up to be for many people who come here and do the trawler school.
Yeah, and that sounds like a great way to describe it. So tell us a little bit more about Trawler School. What can people expect if they sign up for Trawler School?
Yeah, they can expect a busy week. It's a 4-day minimum. Monday through Thursday are the class structure that we currently are offering. I think we'll carry the same structure into 26. And we like people to show up on Sunday so we can get them checked in, do the meet and greet, get them familiar with the vessel and our building and the onshore facilities and things like that. Just get them comfortable a day before class starts. And then come Monday morning, 9 o'clock, we're off and running. And it is a very involved day in and day out. 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you're going to have a mixture of classroom and on-water skills and drills. And then through Wednesday, we have also a option for a night operation. So many people have never been on a boat at night before. That's an option. They can go out and do that. Many people walk in and they think, no, I'll never be on the water at night. And we try to change their mind a little bit because most people, as you know, if you go across the Gulf, possibly in the Great Lakes, you may be doing an overnight passage whether you think you're going to or not. And then Thursday brings graduation day and testing day because the whole idea behind this is a certification. And it's a very formal certification through U.S. Power Boating. So we just administer the tests, administer the syllabus for people. And they're looking after that NASBLA card, which is growing, I think, state by state and more of a requirement as we see that. And that list will continue to grow. And then it's a very happy day on Thursday for graduation day. And then after that, they have the option to exercise what we call the Trawler Ace, which is an after class experience. And they literally charter the boat for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, if they have accomplished all of the goals, been certified, we let them take the boat and charter it on their own if they're at that point. If they're not, we've got some contingency plans, a ride along as we refer to it. A captain instructor goes with them and just make sure that they make all the right decisions and avoid making the wrong decisions. So it's an involved week. We've found most of our clients will be here for the entire week. Some do the 4-day. But what this really does is it gives the couple, and it's only 2 people, a pretty good idea of whether boating is for them or not. A lot of people we get through here have never even been on a boat before, let alone spent a night on a boat. And so this gives them the raw ingredients, if you will, the experience for them to make a determination if boating is for them, whether it be the loop or cruising, local cruising grounds. So it really is a full immersion experience that a lot of people, I think, are seeking out and don't have the opportunity to do. And it's a good one.
Yeah.
We've been booked. We've been booked for the last few years, so it's popular.
Yeah, certainly something there is a great need for, and it is exactly what we're kind of describing when we say try before you buy. And you're, of course, in the Great Lakes, so it is not a year-round season. So when does your season run for trawler school?
Yeah, it is not a year-round season. We try to get started in early May, and surprisingly, there are many people that want to get started in early May. And we had a class this past year in the end of April. So we'll try to get started as quickly as we can, and we'll go through middle October. If we have the desire for people who want to come, we'll do that middle October because we've got to start putting the boats away for the coming off season.
Yeah. You also mentioned that chartering was an option separate from trawler school. So,
Yeah.
perhaps for somebody with a little bit more experience, but tell us a little bit about the charter program. What kind of boats can people choose from and how does it work from their experience level?
Yeah, we've been able to establish a nice fleet of different trawlers specifically. And if somebody's not interested in drilling down into the class setting and preparing, weeks and months ahead of time before showing up, they can just do a charter. And we have the captain charters, those where the captain is with you all the time and stays with you all the time. And we've got charters itineraries from 4 and 7 days. Or you can do a bareboat charter if you have that experience, which we find most people don't. Some do, but that is an option as well. But the one element of the charter that we found is a very popular one is what we call pilot charter. And this particular pilot charter is a 4-day itinerary with some of those popular harbors around our area: Grand Traverse County, Grand Traverse Bay, Suttons Bay, Northport, Leland, Charlevoix, Elk Rapids. And the captain, who's also an instructor, will certainly engage with clients if they are interested in sort of learning or being involved, which they will be throughout the passage to one of those marinas. And then we remove that captain for the evening. So they have the boat by themselves. They can try to figure out if this boating thing is for them, get adjusted to less is more on a boat, right? Don't have all the conveniences of home, or at least the confined areas. So it's a great step in for those that don't want to go through the rigors of trawler school and get certified, but want to at least get exposed to what life aboard is all about and during the evening. And then we bring the captain back the next morning, and then they're off to the next destination. And we try to involve clients as much as possible, or as much as they're willing to be involved in some of the route planning, weather routing. Certainly they're going to be line handling and things like that, and fender placement, some of those very fundamentals of, learning how to operate a boat. But we've had people be at the helm too. So they can be as involved if they want to or not, or just make it a vacation and just see if it's for them. But that is probably the number one focus and growing thing that we offer, that we see people doing, because they don't have the responsibility of anything other than just figuring out if this is for them or not.
Yeah. Tell us just, a few of the boats that are in the fleet, either, specifics of make and model, or just kind of tell us what lengths and things you have available.
Yeah, so we have 2 Nordic Tug 32s that we use specifically for the trawler school, dedicated solely to the trawler school. And then we've got, it looks like for 26, we have a Nordic Tug 39, a Nordic Tug 37, an American Tug 395. We've got a Celine 36 coming in. And we've got another one that looks like it's starting to come to fruition that we hope could be in the upper 40 range, 40, 45. And then, of course, we've got the Fleming 58. So if somebody really wants to go, to the top of the pile, so to speak, and experience that, they can do the Fleming 58 as well. So we've got a nice selection of boats for, I think, what fulfills most people's desire, and certainly in that 37 to 42 foot range.
Yeah,
And
great
what's also
selection for
nice,
sure. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is. And what's also nice is if they come to trawler school, they can get on all these different boats and look at the different floor plans and try to figure out what works for them, what's desirable, what doesn't work for them, not desirable. So yeah, we try to expose as much of the boating lifestyle to them when they come up here, regardless whether they do a charter or a trawler school.
Yeah. And I love the range of boats because many of those are, kind of that average looper boat range that's about 40 to 42 feet. But then you've
Yeah.
got the Fleming that, we often hear people who are considering a much larger boat for the comforts that offers, but they're concerned about how much boat that is and how to handle it. So definitely some great options for that.
Yeah, and it really does. I think it brings people's feet back to earth a little bit when they realize just what's involved with owning and operating a boat. It's not just handling it; it's the expenses, the annual ownership expenses,
Yeah.
annual expenses. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all inclusive.
So do the offerings that you have include things, do you get to experience anchoring? Probably not locking based on where you are. I don't think there's too many locks around there, but anchoring, do you get to experience what it's like to try and provision the boat when you're arriving somewhere and don't have access to ground transportation necessarily? You do go through all those kind of lifestyle things that are part of the loop.
Yeah, yeah, we do. If the trawler school is a little different, most of our clients will do their own provisioning. We try to provide all of the sundry items and all the bedding and everything, so people don't have to bring that to Traverse City. We get a lot of people that fly in,
Hmm.
so we try to make it as easy as possible. But in terms of the involvement, yeah, if it's a charter, a pilot, yeah, I think there's some involvement with a lot of the clients. If they want to go hang on a hook for an afternoon, they can do that. If they want to, you know, be involved with the routing to a specific marina, they can be involved with that as well. I mean, they can ask for essentially anything they want. The captain, though, on a charter or pilot charter, is really going to have the final say, and weather has a lot to do with it. But they can immerse themselves as deeply into it as they want to, for sure. There's some limitations, but we try to accommodate as best we can. It's interesting you should say the locks. We're actually planning for some advanced classes above the trawler school's basic powerboat cruising and inshore powerboat cruising for 26, which is going to be multiple days away from our facilities. There's a lot of people that are seeking out more advanced cruising underway for periods of time because the trawler school is in and out, comes back every day, and you're at our docks every night.
Hmm.
So those advanced classes are targeting just that overnight anchorage, overnight passage making. And believe it or not, we do have a couple sets of locks which are within range of that. If one of those particular itineraries is chosen and want to go through a lock, we're going to try to accommodate that for 26.
Yeah. Excellent. So, just as we look towards wrapping up this segment, what would you tell a future looper who is looking for an opportunity to try before they buy, about your specific offerings and what they can expect to, leave there knowing about the lifestyle?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will appreciate and certainly understand what it takes to own a boat. And what we have found typically with a couple, husband and wife, significant others, there's one driving force behind it, the other one's apprehensive, and certainly this is a very smart way to get beyond those barriers to find out if they're both all in and they want to pursue this or not, because it's an expensive endeavor when you jump into ownership, and we have been very successful in getting people into ownership. But we've also seen people say, this was awesome, but thanks for saving me a lot of money and all the hassles. I think we'll just come back and continue to charter with you and others, and not you go towards the ownership route. So it really is a fully comprehensive program. It gives people a very, very deep understanding of what it's like to be on a boat, to own a boat, and if it's for them or not moving into the future. If they want to do the loop or cruise somewhere else, definitely gives them that decision making.
Yeah. Excellent. We appreciate you coming and telling us about the service. We appreciate that the service exists because there are not enough opportunities like this for those interested in the Great Loop. We'll go ahead and put all of the contact information for Trawlers Great Lakes into the episode notes for the audio version of this and into the video description on YouTube. So Jay Kraft with Trawlers Great Lakes, thanks so much for sharing the details today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Kim. Thanks for having me.
You are most welcome. We are going to take a quick break, play a message from one of our sponsors, and we'll come back with our final segment for today. Be back in a moment.
Good morning, Loopers. Many of you are probably already cruising in southeastern waters, and that is where the Salty Southeast Cruisers Net focuses all of its efforts to help you enjoy your time on the water. So as you prepare for the next leg of your journey, and as your resource for accurate, timely, and useful information, we want to invite you to use and add your knowledge to the wealth of information that's available through the Cruisers Net in its directories for marinas, bridges, and anchorages, as well as the latest fuel prices in your area. Our mission of Cruisers Helping Cruisers, may we invite you to help those following in your wake by sharing with us your cruising experiences. Thank you. Have a great day.
Welcome back to today's Great Loop Radio podcast. We're continuing our discussion on ways you can try out looping, essentially, before you go out and buy your boat and really, commit to the whole process. So our next guest is Lisa McLean. She is with Le Boat, which is another long-term AGLCA sponsor. Lisa, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you. And Le Boat, of course, offers some charters on some of the parts of the route that people call the highlights of the Great Loop. So tell us a little bit about your offerings on the Canadian canals.
So for Le Boat, we've been around for 55 years in Europe, and in 2018 we expanded to the Canadian waterways. So we now have a fleet of 34 boats available for rent on both the Trent Severn and the Rideau Canal. So if you are looking to do the canals but don't have your own boat or don't want to trailer your boat to Canada, you can have the option of renting a boat for the week. We do have only our luxury Horizon Cruiser, which ranges in size from 2 bedrooms all the way up to 5 bedrooms. So sleeping anywhere from 2 to 12 people.
Yeah. Pretty spectacular offerings on some pretty spectacular waterways, and a great way to do a segment of the loop before you have your own boat. Let's talk a little bit about Le Boat, because as you said, you've been around for a while, and I know we've had lots of gold loopers who have completed the loop, who have done some of the Le Boat charters in Europe. So tell us a little bit about, kind of overall about Le Boat before we dive into a little bit deeper on the Canadian portions.
Great. So Le Boat has been around for 55 years, and we are the world leader in boat rental vacations. We are a sister company to the Moorings and Sunsail. So we have been doing this for a very long time, offering boat rentals / charters across Europe. So our European destinations include 9 different cruising regions in France, including the Canal du Midi, the Burgundy wine region, the River Lot, and the Aquitaine. Plus we do Ireland, Scotland, and the Thames. And then we also do Amsterdam, Belgium, Germany, and the Venetian canals in Italy. So we do offer lots of choice. And we have been there for 50 years with a fleet of over 1,000 boats available for rent. And you can rent anywhere from 3 nights, 7 nights, 12 nights, 14 nights, or longer. So we have had people book a 3-week cruise on the Trent Severn or the Rideau Canal and just be able to relax and enjoy themselves as well.
Yeah. So many amazing places. A lot of those are on my bucket list for cruising. And of course, the fact that you can charter some boats to do that is pretty interesting. But let's talk specifically about the parts of the Great Loop that you can charter on. We were on the Rideau this summer and, saw a gorgeous boat coming along, and we're really surprised. I don't know why we were surprised, but surprised when we saw it was a Le Boat, because I think a lot of what you think of when you think of charters on those Canadian canals are houseboats.
Yes.
The traditional style of houseboat. You can see the boat behind you in your picture there. That's very similar to what we saw on the Rideau that we thought was just a really good looking boat. So tell us, you mentioned, 2 to 5 bedrooms, but tell us a little bit more about the boats available in Canada.
So on the Canadian waterway, we only have our premier fleet, which is called the Horizon Fleet. They're made in Poland by Delphia, and they're designed in cooperation with Beneteau. So they're much more We call them a houseboat, but to me, they're more like a yacht. So they have very much more of a layout of a yacht. There's a huge top deck with onboard barbecue, lots of lounge spacing, lots of upstairs seating. And the benefit of a boat is you can drive from upstairs or downstairs. So if the weather gets a little chilly or if it starts raining, you do have 2 helms. All of our boats available for rent also have a fully stocked kitchen. So everything you need from pots and pans to silverware, coffee press, and I don't know, serving pitchers and everything like that. So you don't have to bring any of your own dishes. It also comes with all your own linen. So all the bedding, comforter, blanket, towels, and mats and everything like that. So really you just have to pack your groceries and bring along your clothes and your sunscreen and a hat. Yeah. And then our boats also come with all of the things that you need, including like all of our boats do have the track maps that you get to use on board. We also have an onboard GPS that is positioned fixed to the top helm. We also provide you with the cruising ports guide to the region that you're cruising to. But Le Boat also has a fantastic downloadable regional guidebook. So whether you're cruising with Le Boat or cruising yourself, we do have our regional guidebooks available for download for free. And then we also work closely with Parks Canada. So all of our boats do include going through all of the locks and overnight moorings at all of the lock stations. And then we can provide you with a list of all of the local marinas that offer pump out, where you can go for refueling of your water. And then the boats do come fully fueled as well. So if you're on a 2-week trip, there's not likely that you'll need to stop and get more diesel fuel. The boats do handle a lot of water and then a lot of fuel. So if you're on a 7 to 14 night trip, you won't need to stop, but you would have to do pump out. And then one of the fantastic things about Le Boat is because we're considered a luxury houseboat, we do have a bathroom and shower in every single cabin. So if you do get the 2-bedroom, 3, 4, or 5-bedroom, and you're sharing with multiple people or traveling with another couple, or even traveling with your teenage kids, you do get your own bathroom and shower in every single cabin. And then what makes Le Boat super easy to drive is all of our boats do come with bow and stern thrusters. So you just have to push a button and it helps you maneuver easily into the locks or park between 2 boats when you're mooring at nighttime.
Yeah, that all sounds like a great way to kind of make it easy to do a section of the loop before you buy your boat. You kind of mentioned 7 and 14 night. What are the options and where can you take the boat? Do you have to start in a specific spot on the canal and get back to that spot, or can you do one way through the canal? How does all that work logistically?
We don't offer one-way cruises in Canada yet. So we do have, for the Rideau Canal, all of our trips start and end in Smith Falls. So you could easily do the whole canal in 14 days. So you would do Smith Falls to Kingston and back, and then you could do Smith Falls to Ottawa and back. We do have sample itineraries on our website, and we do provide those at time of booking, or again, they're available for the loopers to download for free. Mm-hmm. And then depending on how long you're going, if you are traveling the region by car, just visiting, you can just add on a 3 or 4 night trip. But you can book, like I said, our standard trip is 7 nights, and then you could go 14 nights, or we have people who just want to really take their time and have booked up to 3 weeks. And then for all of our trips on the Trent Severn, the base is Peterborough. So again, you can start at Peterborough and you can go all the way from Peterborough to Trent and then back to Peterborough, or you can go from Peterborough to the tip of Lake Simcoe, which is Kirkfield Lock, back to Peterborough as well. And then we would recommend, if you want to do the whole portion with Le Boat, you would book a 14-night cruise.
Yeah, that sounds like some really great options. So for someone who's kind of new to boating or new to bigger boats, how does that work? Is there training provided? What do they need to do to be qualified to take out one of your boats for a week or more?
Because you are renting, believe it or not, you don't need a boat license, but we do put you through a very detailed orientation. So when you do arrive on your first day, plan to spend at least 1.5 to 2 hours doing your orientation. So we fully walk you through the boat. So we show you where all the safety equipment is. We have a portion of the training that takes you through the map reading and the navigation and the trip planning. We show you how all the switches on the boat work. So how do you turn on your hot water? How do you turn on the flybridge lights? We take you for a driving lesson as well. So we teach you how to drive from the inside and then switch the controls so you can drive from the top helm. And then we take you literally for a test drive with you and your crew. So we do take you out of your parking spot, teach you how to use the bow and stern thrusters, teach you how to park using thrusters or not using thrusters, and then also teach you the etiquette of boating and also how do you get through the locks from a Parks Canada perspective. So the locks in Canada are super easy. They are all operated by Parks Canada staff, and they usually have a minimum between 2 and 4 lockmasters at each lock station. And they are all operated by the Parks Canada staff, so you don't have to get off your boat to push any buttons. Basically, you just hand your rope to the Parks Canada crew, and then they help you through the locks, and they will know if you're a first-time boater or not. And then they will also have great suggestions on where you can go. So really use them as a resource. I say they're like a concierge to the canal because they live and work on the canal, so they would have great recommendations for restaurants or what's unique about the next lock station. And they also know how busy the canal is, so really use them as a resource to know, should you be staying at this lock station for the night, or is there lots of openings at the next lock station? So Le Boat does take you through all the training. So if you and your crew are first-time boaters, you don't have to worry. We'll teach you everything you need to know to plan your trip and feel comfortable about driving our boats.
Yes. And so perhaps a little bit different than kind of a quote unquote standard looper boat. These boats are meant for people without a lot of experience to be able to get aboard and handle it pretty comfortably. So, you know, in some of our other segments today, we talked to sponsors who provide charters where a captain goes with you. This is not that experience. This is for somebody who has the confidence to take the boat out on their own with some training from the boat before they leave. So certainly a great option. Lisa, just kind of tell us, you know, if you were talking to a future looper who thinks this is, you know, sounds like the loop sounds like an exciting opportunity, but they've never really lived aboard a big boat before or taken out a big boat before, what will they come away from the Le Boat experience with in terms of helping with their decision-making process about the loop?
Well, for us, all of our team has experienced the canal directly. So myself, I'm more than happy to walk anyone through if you're doing trip planning. We've been up and down the canal at least 25 times, if not more. It's probably a lot more than that in the last 8 years. So we are experts. We do live at the canals as well. So we can tell you all the tips if you're traveling with kids, where are the best stops. If you want to visit the wineries or the breweries or have a culinary theme, we can give you the specific itineraries to help you. And then again, our boats are super easy to drive. We have been around for 55 years, and we know it can be daunting at the thought of driving a 35-foot boat or a 42-foot boat or a 49-foot boat. But honestly, all of our boats are easy to drive. We do also train your crew. So we know a lot of times you'll come with people who've never worked the ropes before or never tied a dock line. So we do walk everybody through, make sure that they understand how to tie a dock line and how to dock the boat safely. We also have a load of free videos for anyone wanting to know how a lock actually operates on our website. So I can share those resources with you. And then we also have a safety video just to kind of give people the confidence of how do they go boating safety as well, that we make sure everyone watches before the trip. But honestly, I'm not a boater. I myself have been boating. I call myself a Le boater because I'm very used to the bow and stern thrusters to help. So I can easily drive our 49-foot 5-cabin boat that sleeps up to 12 people. But honestly, I don't think I'd be able to hop on somebody's pontoon boat and be able to drive that because I'm not used to driving anything that doesn't have a thruster. So our boats do make it super easy for those first-time buyers or those first-time boaters. And we don't rush the training. So if you feel you need more training or if you have lots of questions, our team is there to help. And then if you do have any questions while you're cruising or you feel like you might be lost, you can give our base a call. We do give you a 1-800 number that you can call the base at any time. you might forget how to turn on the top deck barbecue. So give the base team a call. They're always there to help. Or if you have any maintenance issues with the boat, or if you're a little concerned, they're available at all times too, to come out and check the boat and make sure you feel confident.
Yeah. So, Lisa, thank you for bringing us this great opportunity to try out the looper lifestyle before actually investing the time and money into finding and buying your own boat. We did the Trent Severin on our boat as part of our Great Loop, and it was one of the highlights. So I love that LeBoat is now on the Trent Severin as well. And I have to say, we took our boat back from Florida all the way up to do the Rideau, and that was our primary destination for the summer, was the Rideau. Fabulous trip. We would have saved a lot of time and money if we had done a LeBoat instead of driving our boat all the way up from Florida. We loved all of it, but it's a great option for those who maybe have, like I said, like we've been saying all day today, try before you buy on the Loop, but also those who have finished the Loop but didn't get to do the Rideau or didn't get to do the Trent. It's a great way to come back and fill in some of those highlights.
It's also a great way if you know you have people joining you. So if your boat only seats 2 people, but for the Rideau portion, you have additional family members or friends who want to join you. So it's a great way if you only have a 2-bedroom boat, but you have 4 people coming or 6 people coming, you can have more people join you as well. Yeah. And then to your point of doing the Canadian canals, I'll just give a plug to Parks Canada. Our waterways are so spectacular, and they're owned and managed and operated by the Parks Canada team. And I do think we have some of the most beautiful locks around the world, and it's pristine wilderness. All of our fellow boaters on the waterway are super friendly, so you will get that Canadian warm welcome if you are coming from the US. We love our American counterparts, and we love seeing the Americans out on the waterway. So keep coming up to Canada, and we look forward to seeing everyone in 2026.
And we'll do it. Lisa, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for your sponsorship of AGLCA, and thanks for bringing us all these details. We'll see you on the waterways.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2026, and make sure you stop by the LeBoat bases and tell us you're a looper and say hi. And make sure you're flying your looper flag as well, so we can clearly identify you. And if you are renting a boat, just make sure you bring your flag too, and you'll be greeted by everyone and given nice treatment by the Parks Canada state team if they see that you're a looper. So thank you so much for offering us to share the product with you, Kimberly. And we look forward to welcoming all the loopers on the Canadian canals in 2026.
Thanks. Sounds great. Thank you, Lisa. And thanks to everyone who's watched or listened today. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Great Loop Radio podcast. Until then, safe cruising.